here we are, spawning the bottom left. He is in the blue, the teamless Protoss. He's trapped. And in the upper right, in the red for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, give it up for Dark. And you know, as we talk about teamless players, Beyond seems to be pretty content to not be on a team. Someone please hire this. Someone please hire Trap. You'll make Gemini very happy. You have a probe coming on out here, but this looks like it's just going to be a gate expand coming in from Trap. As well, it's game number 1, and what's the rule in game number 1? For the most part, generally, you don't see a lot of craziness. You don't see a lot of shenanigans, but that's fine. That's dandy. That's not all that crazy. As this probe will go out, or I should say, you generally either see a lot of shenanigans or none at all. And what that means by that, of course, is you'll either see, you know, a lot of proxies, or you'll see just this really straight up macro game. Because game number 1 in the series really sets the tone for the entire series, especially in like an extended, a best of 5, a best of 7, something like that. And well, if both players are looking to say, hey, we're evenly matched, you know, I don't need to do anything crazy, or I'm just not that cheesy of a player, yeah, we're gonna see this straight up macro game. We're gonna save something that's a little bit crazier for maybe later on in the series, if they need it. So, well, that's exactly what we see here. As Trap did get the SCV or the probe block oftentimes, so third base coming on in. But Dark, of course, he is a good Zerg, and as all good Zergs do, he just sent the probe he's just sent the drone at about 100 minerals to make sure this is okay. You're probe blocking me. I'm just gonna take third. No big deal. Nothing really lost outside of maybe a little bit more mining time, but that's about 7 to 10 minerals. It does something, but it's not nearly as significant as well, it could be elsewhere. But anyways, where are we gonna go from here? Where are we going to go in this game number 1? No real tech showing anywhere. We do have a Stargate coming on in. It looks like that's going to be our first big tech building, but this is an interesting Stargate timing. Because this is a Stargate coming down after the Warp Gate. So this is... I think this means we're going to see... This is not an aggressive Stargate. We may see an Oracle, but I think this is much more of a Stargate to get on into the mid-game. This is much more... We may see Trap kind of turtle the late game, turtle toss... Turtle Skytoss has been a rather popular style, as now the Adept's going to go on in. One drone going down immediately. And actually getting your creep tumor as well. That is so nice that it's able to get that creep tumor. And I say, Bale, you're overestimating, but no. Getting creep connection between these two bases is such an important thing when you're forced to take your third issue natural, because any sort of Adept pressure later on just gets so annoying. So knocking out that creep tumor like that actually is so good for Trap. I mean, it may not come to fruition or anything, but it does potentially give him such an avenue to get something done. As now, of course, we do have spores coming on in where they're necessary, and of course queens where they're not. And now the Oracle's going to come on in here, and this was scouted immediately, so we have a second Oracle as a follow-up, so that means the third unit out of the Stargate should be a Phoenix. But we still really don't have any idea as to what exactly Trap's goal is here in this game. It looks like he's maybe looking to take a third base rather soon, before 4:15, I would guess. But no, okay, so we have a Robo on the way behind this. As it looks like he just, I guess, it looks like he just wants to go into something relatively standard. We don't see a lot of gates coming down either. So yeah, two gates on the map, just filling out the wall. There's the Twilight Council going on the way. So that's what he's going for. Okay, Trap going for what can be approximated as the stats build in this game number 1, where you go and you open Stargate, you get a couple Oracles, and it's great. It's defensive, it means you can take your third base at a pretty decent timing. But you don't take it too fast. Actually, it looks like 2 Adepts find a way on into the third base of Dark here. 4 workers go down already, and this is just tremendous damage. This should not happen, actually. They're going to go on in once again. 6 workers go down. And yeah, this shouldn't be happening. Trap Dark getting a little bit sloppy here. It's not even able to deny the third base that he's been looking for. Now the Oracles will find the Zerglings, get a run back their way back home. But we got a couple of Adepts here in a wall, and not exactly a whole lot going to get done. But now, of course, oh, okay, so Twilight Archives, or Templar Archives coming on in, as well as a couple more gateways. And is this, okay, so this is just how Trap is choosing to get on into Charge Slot Archon. And there we go, Charge coming on in, coming down. And you gotta remember, this was like a 415 third base, so this is very much a macro build here from Trap. This is not a disguised all-in, where he's pretending to get a third base, but meanwhile he's gonna drop a bunch of gateways and hit with three Archons and a bunch of Charge Slots. I don't believe that's what's gonna happen here. No, this third base is gonna finish right around 545 because it was delayed a little due to Zerglings. And that's what we're gonna have, as Dark, he's got his fourth base on the way, +1 melee on the way, but really no other semblance of tech. Interestingly, we don't see a Ro4 coming down, so what I thought was gonna be the stats build where you get a couple of depths. Actually, you know what? Trap is doing exactly what I said he wasn't gonna do. Not exactly cutting probes, but he's dropping a bunch of gateways. Charge is gonna be done. Couple Archons on the way. He has a timing here. He very much has a timing here where Dark's going to be trying to hold with Zerglings, and our Zerglings do terribly against. So there we go. The Archon drop coming on in, and we should see maybe another warping of something. I don't know, but no, it looks like Trap's just content to micro and deal with the fact that there is just really not a whole lot that can defend against what he has. As now one Queen is going to get targeted down, but the rest of the Queens are going to show up, which means the Warp Prism will be forced back. And Dark says, "Ah, yes, I have defended against your pressure. 10 more drones on the way," but Charge is just about done, and 2 more Archons are being made. Adepts and Zealots moving across the map here, and I would not be surprised to see a bunch of Charge start to get warped in here as Trap really turns up the pressure, and that does seem to be the move. Although this Warp Prism cannot go down. Warp Prism going down just ends the game. And now a couple Zerglings, they're going to run on into the third base, but there's a shield battery here, so maybe not a whole lot. And now the army of Trap is here. We can see a bunch of Charge moving on in. Or I should say Archons at the front, and GG, there is nothing Dark had to defend that, and GG. Trap is going to take game number 1 just like that. A little bit anticlimactic, but so it goes. Hopefully our later game is going to be a little bit better. But again, Dark, as I mentioned earlier, he skipped the Roach Warren. And when you skip the Roach Warren, you got to hope you can get into Hydraling Bane or something. You got to hope you can get past that hump. And there's that incredibly vulnerable 630-ish timing where you don't have Hydras yet, you don't have Banelings yet, not really. And if your opponent hits with a bunch of with Charge Lot Archon, as Trap did, because he correctly identified the fact that Dark did not have what he had skipped a Roach Warren, well, there's just about nothing you can do. And well, yeah, Dark GG'd out immediately. Of course, this is the Dark that had recently at the time just won TSL 6. So Dark really is at the top of his game here. And well, that doesn't mean everything. Very clearly. As the Trap just kind of took a bop in game number 1. But hey, we got 2 more games, more than 2 games left. At the bare minimum, 2 games left in this series. And game number 2 is all loaded up. So let's go. And here we are spawning in the upper left in the blue. Representing himself and himself alone. Please, someone hire this man. It's Trap. And in the bottom right for Dragon Phoenix Gaming in the red, down 1 game in the series. It's Dark. Alright, so once again, nothing crazy. Nothing too out of the ordinary. As we do see that gate expand coming on in. Probe moving. Where's the probe? See our fan. There we go. Never mind. Probe's not. Yeah, probe found its way across the map, just scouting around. And yeah, 16, 18, 17 coming from the Dragon Phoenix Gaming player. So we got the same game. We have just the exact same game that we saw in game number 1, but that does not mean it's going to end the same way. As well, we're going to have to see where players do go from here. In unrelated news, man, I'm having a great time up here. We're finally getting. I should say I'm having a great time. I am a little bit bitter. So up here where I live, we got like 44 inches, somewhere between 23 and 43 inches, 44 inches of snow the week before Christmas. And it was like, great, I was able to hit the slopes, and there's powder and, deep bases because 44 inches of snow dropped in a single day. And it was awesome. Had a great time. And then right over Christmas, there were thunderstorms and rain, and it got up to like 60, 65. And all the ski resorts nearby, because I live in the Northeast, and there are like 3 resorts within an hour, within 45 minutes of where I live. Actually, probably more, but 2 big ones. Anyway, so many trails have all closed down, and it's just a sad time. But hey, my courses don't start up, or I should say my responsibilities don't really start back up again until Wednesday, so I think I got like 1 or 2 more days, half days on the slopes before then. So that's exciting. I think I'm going to go wake up early tomorrow and get a couple turns on in. There's now a couple Zerglings, they're going to find their way on into the natural. And, well, there's no wall here, so the probes will be forced to be pulled, and there's nothing here, so actually they're going to force this. They're not going to force the scouting adept. Actually, is this adept going to get any workers? It will. Okay, so 2 drones do go down, but these Zerglings, they're being a little bit annoying. But of course, with all the drones here, or all the probes here, I should say, well, that's not really going to get a whole lot done. And more importantly, it is scouted the starport. So Dark, well aware of things, knows. He says, hey, you know what? I know what Trap did last game. That was off of a Stargate opener too. So the options that are available to Trap, well, Dark knows of them. And he's really just going to have to take a look at what the follow-up is here, what the gas timings are. And so we should see, if this is going to be a macro game that Trap is going for, we should see gases taken within the next 15, 20 seconds. We're going to have to see what happens with that. But of course, the Oracle moving its way across the map as Warp Gate finishes up. And this is interesting. So already we're seeing deviation from the previous game, as Voider is going to be a follow-up here, as another gate's coming down as well. So going up to 3 gates, and we still don't see gases. So generally the rule is, hey, if it's no gas by 4 minutes, it's a little bit spooky. And there we have a Twilight Council coming on in the way. Actually, I think this is pretty similar to the build that Trap played last game. Although again, the third base, I want to say that was a 4 minutes and 15-second third base. So actually, with the lack of a gas on the natural, it looks like Trap wants to get a little bit aggressive coming on into this game number 2, and that makes a lot of sense. He played a quote-unquote macro game that he just kind of bopped Dark with early on, but it presented as a macro game. As a couple of adepts will find their way in to this third base. Another 3 workers will go down, so 5 workers have died this game already. A couple of Zerglings, yeah, they're going to find the third base, but hey, there's an Oracle here, or a Void Ray there, an Oracle ready to defend, and yeah, this is not going to get anything done. And there we have the Glaives on the way, 2 more gates on the way as well, going up to a grand total of 4, and this is the Zest build. Or it's not the Zest build, I'm sorry. Trap is playing, but this is the stats build, where you go and you open Stargate, you get a couple Stargate units. I don't think it's really specifically of Oracle and a Void Ray or anything like that. And you get delayed gas, and then you get Glaives on top of this, and you kind of hit it with a 4-gate Glaives timing right around 6 minutes, just about when the Zerg is really finishing up their droning. Maybe you've convinced him to skip a Roach Warren, although the Roach Warren is up here. Dark did learn from his previous mistakes, even if it is a later Roach Warren than previous. And it's actually, honestly, it's rather surprising to see Dark, of all people, skip a Roach Warren, as he is probably more so than any other active Zerg in Korea. Maybe Stu would give him a run for that title, but he is a Roach boy. No, I feel Dark is more of a Roach player than Stu is. But anyway. So he's not skipped Roaches in this game, as 18 Lings are on the way, a couple Roaches as well. And now we have the Depths are moving across the map. Glaives are done in something like 17 seconds. So this time we're seeing it a little bit earlier than one would expect. And actually, 2 Adepts will find their way on into the natural and already trade out, count well for themselves. 2 drones going down. Do we have a Warp Prism? We do not. So this is only minor pressure, and now the Depths will come on in, but this is Zergling Ravager defense, which is actually pretty cool. So with this, you really need a whole lot less, because all you need is just enough Zerglings to allow for the Ravagers to get their biles off, and you're good to go. So it's a much less gas-intensive defense. Now 2 Adepts that once again they find their way into the main base, but where's the 7 workers go down? Looks like Adepts in the natural getting a lot of work done. 10 workers going down here. 11. This one Adept is just doing so much damage. 11 workers go down. And suddenly, this thing that didn't look like it was going to get a whole lot done, well, it killed 36 Zerglings and 16 workers. For the cost of 12 Adepts, yeah, that is a wonderful trade for our Blue Protoss player. And Dark really doesn't have the opportunity to get aggressive again. I mean, there are shield batteries just about done. One is already done. There are 2 oracles, or the 2 void rays in the sky. There's an oracle as well. And unless Dark wants to waddle his queens across the map, which, to be fair, this is Lightshade. This is one of the maps that is a little bit more possible than most others. Actually, this is a lot of void rays. 4 void rays on the map, more and more on the way. So, yeah, we're going into Stargate behind this, as we have +1 air on the way as a second Stargate, or third Stargate, excuse me, is on the way here. Trap said, hey, look, I got enough done. Looks like a couple more depths are going to find it with 3 more drones do go down. Trap saying, look, I got enough done. I can go straight into Skytoss, and this really seems to be the most powerful way to play PvZ at the moment. But Dark not interested in playing that game, as we have a Nidus coming on in here. It looks like he's going to go Nidus Swarmhost, which seems to be a good and a... I don't know. It really depends on the timing here. So you get your Swarmhost, you get your Nidus fast enough. Interesting, a Hydrogen coming down as well. So maybe Dark is going to move away from that plan. I do like that. But anyway, if you get your Swarmhost fast enough, you can start really doing damage before the Stargate is a problem. But once the fleet beacon's up, if a Trap decides to play like Stats does, where you go and you... Well, that 4th base will be denied for the moment. Where you go and you just get a mothership core. Or a mothership, excuse me, and just sit it over the base that's getting attacked, and it doesn't really matter. Of course, all the void rays have to do at that point is just target down the detection, the Zerg detection, and well, it goes from there. As well, once again, this 4th base is going to be denied for the moment, but Dark's 4th base is only just on the way, so not a really great position here. I mean, as the Zerg, you always want to be 1 base ahead of the Protoss player, and considering the Protoss player is only taking half build times, taking their 4th base half the build time of your 4th slower, it doesn't feel all that great. As now, +1 is about 20 seconds from being completed. Flex Veins are just about done. These borders are about to be real fast, so the Hydras are not going to be able to catch them whatsoever. +1 is going to complete, and, well, +1 against Hydras is actually really good. You think, oh, yeah, Hydras, they're a pretty good counter against Void Rays, and that's not wrong. But Hydras are so low HP, and they have such low armor, that any sort of additional damage attacks them so much, especially considering how fast Void Rays attack. Much like carriers. So these Hydras, you may think they're good, and you may think that's a good idea, but they're going to melt to the Skytoss army that's coming in here. And Dark, already well aware of things. It does have a Hive done. He does have there's a Lurker Den on the way too. A couple of Vipers coming on in here, and that's pretty much what you want to have for the moment. But now the Voiders, they're going to run on in, and we should just see them turn their beams on, maybe target the space down. But now the Hydras are here, and does not feel quite confident enough. These Biles will not land. Now Voiders chucking down, and got a clump of Hydras into the 4th base. Clump of Hydras coming in the main base, and honestly, okay, with the Queens here, maybe you can't take that fight. You can say, man, with just the amount of Hydras coming in, it feels like the Voiders could almost take that fight, but not quite. But anyway, Trap, I mean, he doesn't really need to get damaged. I mean, he wants to. He doesn't really need to get damage done here, as he's going to actually take a decent trade against these Hydras. But now we have 2 parasitic bombs coming on, and the splits are not going to be fast enough. And actually just rather lucky for Trap that one of the Void Rays dies as fast as it did, but the other one is just doing so much damage. And that is a rather significant split. Now, Depths, they do find their way on into the third base. A couple more drones will go down, but not quite enough. And I will say the one downside of the army that Trap's got going on here is he does not have Temple Archives. He does not have Storm. He does have a fourth target on the way. But anyway, he does not quite have that AoE that splash that he's really going to be looking for. That's going to make his army really impactful. But again, this is a lot of carriers. +2 is on the way, as it was +1 ground, I guess, to allow for better run-bys later on into the game. But Trap is rapidly approaching this Golden Armada, this terrifying Protoss army that it's so difficult for the Zerg to deal with. As now we're up to 3 carriers, 3 more on the way, going up to 6, and 6 really does seem to be the magic. 6 or 7 does really seem to be the magic number here. Now the Depth's not really going to get a whole lot done, but Dark also really feels like maybe he's sacrificing these. At the very least, yeah, they're not going to get anything done. So the Biles are going to try to do what they can, but these are speedy, quick boys. What with the buff to Void Ray speed and everything else. But now, of course, what this has done, it has forced the main defensive army of Trap away. Now we're going to see an Abduct coming in. 2 carriers will go down immediately. 3 as well. And suddenly, well, this army is not nearly as powerful as it once was, but there's not enough energy on the Viper for a Parasitic Bomb. Viper's looking for another Abduct. A 4th carrier will get targeted down. Will go down here. And Tark's actually in a really good pushing position now. Now, there are a decent amount of cannons here, and there's a shield battery. Actually, yeah, no, there is no shield battery overcharge, I don't believe. I believe that has been spent earlier. So as good as a fight as that looked for Dark originally, not so much anymore. And now, well, Dark's trying to try to run home. And as long as he's off creep, well, the Void Rays will just continue to chase down. So at the end of the day, a decent trade for Dark, but not the best. And, well, these two Hydras will sacrifice their lives for the greater good. And now that this push that Dark just made, it's not going to happen again. Storm is done, and there are enough High Templars to A, feedback, and B, just drop Storms on top of all the Hydras. So this push that Dark has gone for is not nearly going to be as viable as it once was. And interestingly enough, we don't see Dark moving on into Aspire. I don't believe there is Aspire on the map. No, there's not. So he's just going to stick to this Hydra Lurker Viper style for the time being, and not terrible. I think I would like, if he's going to do this, I think I would like to see some Infestors for fungals, maybe fungal the Interceptors, but more importantly, to get some Microbial Shrouds coming on down. But Dark really is not going to have an aggressive timing available to him for the next, I don't know, I feel like you need Corruptors for your next aggressive timing, although we are seeing some forward Evo Chambers to allow for the Vipers to get a bunch more energy coming in, so maybe that's what it is. And then we have Pathogen Glands coming in as well. So Dark, maybe he thinks he can get a push coming on in here. He does have fully upgraded Lurkers. There is +3 on them as well, so these Lurkers are going to hit like a freight train, but again, most of the scary part of Trap's army is in the sky, it's not on the ground. So that's going to make it, the Lurkers, they're great for sieges, and they're great for maybe keeping High Templar away, but that is just about it. As now, he's going to siege away on top of this 5th base, and it looks like he will be able to get this, but, well, Trap says, okay, if you're there, you're not at home, and now it's going to, I don't know if you have enough static defense. So yeah, he has 2 spores. Although Trap actually looks like he's just going to give this base up. No, he's going to recall part of his army. And I don't, yeah, he's not, he will be able to, oh, he will be able to save it at 82 HP. That is insane. Really, realistically, shouldn't have happened, but Dark got a little bit, tried to min-max things a little bit too much, and he was punished for it. So now we have the 5th base still up and running here, and Dark's looking to take a fight that, really, look, it take any sort of advantageous fight he can. He will get a Void Ray, but once again, Trap's army is on the map, as is Dark's, but this time, it's not a great position, as the charge lots and the Void Rays are getting on top of all these Queens and some Hydras. But now, of course, well, we have a couple Yoinks coming in, some decent parasitic bombs, actually not at all, but now Trap split it, he does the split, and then everything goes right back on top of things. But the Storms are going down, and the Hydra and the Vipers, they're out of energy. So Dark, his army here, yeah, he's resupplying, yeah, he's 25 Hydras on the way. But actually, it looks like all the Interceptors are dead as well. So Dark is going to be able to keep targeting these carriers down, and it looks like it's going to be kind of a wash. We need Interceptors. Only 16 Interceptors on the map, but 13 workers also went down. Looks like there was a run by here in this 3 o'clock base. Now, one thing I will say is, in this game, Dark's been trying to be aggressive, but as a downside of that, his creep spread is not nearly where it needs to be. You would like to see maybe get creep spread on the high ground here, maybe creep spread on the high ground here. But now we have run-bys coming in on top of both bases, both outlying bases of Dark. Now, the one on the right is not going to get anything done, but there is only 1 Lurker here, and no static defense on the left-hand side. So these drones will have to be pulled, and these Lurkers are just not getting enough done for the moment. They're really just, the Zealots are not lining up appropriately, so they're going to get a decent amount of damage done to this hatchery, but they will eventually get cleaned up. Meanwhile, of course, Trap's army on the right-hand side is trying to get more done here. And the Hydras can maybe get the... No, they won't. Okay, so the Hydras had an opportunity to get the Warp Prism and the High Templar in the Warp Prism, but not paying attention, so they will just sacrifice their lives to the Overmind. Sure, that's what rules this army. Dark is the Overmind or something. Anyway, I don't talk about lore. There's a reason I don't talk about lore, and there we go. So run by once again coming on in here, but there's a Lurker, there are Queens, there are Transfuses. Run by not really getting a whole lot done, but the main army, it's marauding on the right-hand side, and it is scary, it is terrifying. These are +3 Void Rays, +3 carriers, and we're going to see some massive storms coming on in here. And yeah, one carrier has been abducted, but it's not even going to go down. And that is a bad situation when you are spending when you're spending Viper energy and you're not getting anything done with it, I mean, sure, you get a little bit of damage, but that is just about it, and that is not a good situation in the slightest. Although, looks like Trap did lose some Void Rays, I believe. Yeah, it looks like he lost some Void Rays in the fight, so not the end of the world, but certainly not the type of fight that Dark is looking for. As once again, Trap remaxes this time on more High Templar, and that's when it gets scary. When you get to Carrier Storm, oof. As he goes and drops some High Templar, just says, hey, how much energy do I have on all of these boys? And this run-by the run-by will eventually find the 12 o'clock base. Even as more static defense and more active defense is added on. And now Trap, he's taking both the diagonal bases, and he really, realistically, he's only going to be able to get one of these, but he's forcing a reaction from Dark. He's going to say, Dark, actually, looks like Dark didn't have to spend his entire army there, but Dark, you're going to have to go deal with this. And what that means, of course, is maybe he's going to be able to catch the army on the left-hand side out of position. Now, the Hydras will find the army on the left-hand side, or we'll find this base on the left-hand side, but that really what all this tells Dark, Traps to say, hey, look, Dark, you're out of position. It's time to start killing things. As we will see the first storm coming on in here, a Duct really not getting a whole lot. And yeah, okay, now we have Microbial Shroud coming in, but it still is a storm here button at this point. And these storms are just going to be massive. And yeah, actually the Hydras, they're fighting outside of Microbial Shroud as well. And the Microbial Shroud is going to run out, so this is a pretty good fight here for Trap for the moment. And yeah, absolutely good fight if we look at the supply. And yes, there is a Microbial Shroud coming on down, but there is army on the ground. And GG! Trap's going to take game number 2. And with that, we're at the ace match. We're at the rubber match of this semifinals of the ESL Korea at number 51. Trap has looked dominant thus far. He got a short game, he got a long game. We're going to have to see what he's got coming for us here in game number 3. We'll be on Death Aura. It'll be the first ace match available for the evening. Hopefully Dark finds some way to find his way back into the series. Because I won 5 games, right? I won 5 games. Everyone wants 5 games. But who knows what we're going to get. As our players, they're loaded in to our third and final game. Well, potentially third and final game of this series. Let's get into it. And here we are in the bottom right. In the blue. Give it up for Trap. And in the upper left. In the red for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. The champion of TSL 6. It's Dark. And what are we going to see in this game number 3? It is Death Aura. So, of course, well, if there's a good map for carriers, this is the one more than any other. So, if we're going to see some Turtle Skytoss once again, yeah, it's going to be on this map. But that does not mean that that's what Trap's going to do. I mean, he didn't Turtle Skytoss in game number 2. He hit the stats timing. He got a decent amount of workers killed. And then he said, okay, you know what? Actually, no, I don't think that was a... Never mind, that wasn't exactly a reaction, but he was transitioning into Skytoss behind that bit of aggression. Much like you don't see a lot of mech players go and just turtle straight to mech. Instead, they go and they hit with a Hellbat timing, or they try to run a bunch of Hellions into a base, or they get a Banshee, or they do something to keep the Zerg back, to make it so the Zerg can't bust them when they are vulnerable. And that's exactly what we saw Trap do here. He said, hey, you know what? I got a decently timed third base, but I don't want you to just kind of hit me with the timing like that what Vanya does, where it's 63 workers and it's 3 infestors with blinding cloud and a bunch of hydras, and you just kind of run across the map and kill the Protoss player right when they're weak. So Chef doesn't want that to happen. So what does he do? He builds something like 16, or he builds 12 adepts, gives them glaives, and runs across the map right around 6 minutes, right around the time the Zerg is only starting to build their army. And he kills 16 workers, and he says, okay, look, now that timing that you were looking for, the timing that you maybe looked to hit to move across the map and kill me as I transition into this Skytoss style, well, it's just not there anymore. Absolutely not there. But again, we're talking about games past. We're talking about the ghosts of games past, not the ghosts of games future. Okay, yeah, that was terrible. But hey, it's holidays. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But once again, Trap going for a Stargate opener. This does seem just to be kind of the way that Protoss players are opening for the moment, unless they're trying to all in. It's the only opening that really allows you to get into a macro game on an even footing with a Zerg. Going Twilight, you have to get some sort of damage done. So there we go. The Stargate will go down, and again, this I believe this Stargate was before Warp Gate. It's interesting that in game number 1, Trap did go for Warp Gate before Stargate, but in minor build variances, it's just rather interesting. You really don't see that all that often, unless I just misread things, and that was Stargate before Warp Gate. But anyway, whatever the case may be, we do have this interesting Stalker coming on in. Generally, that's an Adept. You don't see Scouting Stalker. But I guess it's a Scouting Stalker. What is it? Crouching Tiger something. I forget what the something is, so I can't make the joke. Most apologies, those of you watching at home. But hey, now we have 2 Adepts coming across the map here, and it's going to be coupled with an Oracle. So the Adepts are going to maybe move on into the natural, or try to move on into the main base as the Oracle flies on into the natural, and it will force the defensive units of Dark to be in 2 places at once. Well, looks like the Oracle's maybe going to move on into the 3rd base here. Queen is available. Yeah, there's a support here. This Oracle's not really going to be able to get a whole lot done, but we're going to see maybe some Adept Shades go on into the main base, and maybe that's where Trap's going to be able to get some damage done. But unfortunately for Trap, he didn't time this up properly. Actually, we'll get a couple drones immediately. Drones are going to get pulled to deal with this, but they're just going to get targeted down, and we're going to see 4 workers go down here, and that is massive. Now look, he's found the opening. Trap is going to get on top of all of these workers. 6, 7 drones are going to go down, and the Oracle's not going to die. He found his opening. He found the position where there was no defense, and the Queens weren't pulled quite as fast as they would have liked, and suddenly 7 workers are dead. And now the Void Ray says, "Oh hey, that Overlord that my Oracle found. Yeah, that Overlord. Let's kill that too." Kind of dark with the hive with the layer on the way here. The Oracle not really looking to get any damage done, much more just to be able to escape, and escape he will be able to do so. And now this Void Ray, he's just sharking around and says, or Trap's just sharking his Void Ray around and says, "Hey, you know, are there any more Overlords I can pick off? Any creep tumors that I can get? Any bits of small damage to compound the damage I have done to the drone line earlier." And he will get another creep. No, he won't. Force back. But once again, Skytoss will be the name of the game for Trap here in this game number 3. Although this time, well, he's not going to hit the Glaives timing. So I think this is just going to be more pure Skytoss, and maybe get charge just for run-bys later on. I think that's what the Templar Archives is for, because again, you want to be hitting that that Twilight Council timing just around 6 minutes, 6:30, and well, it's just about that time right now. So we should not see Glaives on the way here. Just charge. Oh, actually, this is just for a Templar Archive. So this is going to be a Skytoss variant in which you get a faster storm. And I happen to like that. I feel like the pure Skytoss styles are just maybe a little bit too fragile. I mean, they work, but it just tends to feel a little bit too fragile, as Trap will be able to deny the 4th base, well, for the first time, but maybe not the first of many here, as this is what these Void Rays are looking to do. There we have it. Charge on the way, +1 on the way. And now these Zerglings, they're just going to sit on top of the 4th base, deny that for the time being, but no. Void Rays are here, and they say, no, back off. I get my 4th base. And this is, I do like this from Dark. He said, you know what? I tried the Hydro Lurker Viper style in game number 3, or game number 2, excuse me. It didn't really work out. Okay. Let's drop a Spire. I know how to, I think this is a better way to play. Or I think this is going to suit me better in this game, and I happen to agree. I think you need something to just directly deal with the Skytoss style, and this is actually rather interesting. So he's going to go for Mutas here as he takes 2 bases behind this, and that the double expand is a really good idea, of course, because when you have Mutas, you're pinning your opponent back for the moment, and that allows you to get a little bit greedy with your expansion pattern. But 15 Mutas are on the way here, and I think this is maybe a little bit questionable, if only for the fact that there's double Stargate on the map. So a decent amount of Phoenixes to deal with this can come out rather quick. Now this is not +1. This is not +1 Skytoss here. In fact, Trap is transitioning into, I want to say this is going to be a Void Ray Colossus style, actually, out of Charged Lotta Archon Storm. But now the Mutas, they will show themselves for the first time in just a second, and Trap, well, he's going to have to be able to deal with this. We don't see well, we don't see any cannons in mineral lines, just a shield battery. And there are 15, I think it's 15 mutas. There are 15 mutas on the map, so they're going to be able to really one tap a lot of probes. But now the Void Rays will find things, and the Storm is going to soften these mutas up really well, so the mutas are going to have to run away from the Void Rays right now. But 13, 15 probes have all gone down. Now we have Phoenix on the way 2x2. Archon's in position, and well, one probe for every muta from the first attack. Not all that bad, but this is pretty cool. Dark, he's bringing back an old school style coming on in here in this game. Where, okay, it looks like the single adept found its way into the third base of Dark and starting to get some workers. Dark is going for very much an old school style here, as we are going for Muta Corruptor in this third game of the series, and this is actually really cool. This is something I think I've seen it a couple times since Heart of the Swarm, but not really. And this is a pretty cool dance you see between both players. As Dark, he's going to be looking to fight with his Corruptors against the Phoenix, and his Mutas against the Void Rays, and Void Rays vice versa. So the Mutas, they're going to try to go in. The Corruptor's job is to defend against the Phoenix. That is really their job. They're that meat shield. So it's a lot of dance of which unit is forward, which unit is backwards. And, well, actually, I'm really interested to see how this one works out, because, of course, Corruptors, they're a little bit different than they were when I last saw this played with any regularity. But, oh no, this is not the fight. This is not the fight at all that Dark has been looking for, as he will get found immediately. And one Corruptor will go down, but now we see the Mutas, they're going to dive forward. But the Storm is on top of everything, and this makes things a little bit more questionable. So Dark, he's looking to take the engagement, but he can't take it over the Void Rays. He can't take it over the Archons. He cannot take it over the Storm. So he's looking to do what he did just there, pick off a unit here and there. Use the Corruptors to pick off a Void Ray, to pick off a Phoenix, things like that. As he sits across the map here, more and more Mutas on the way. It looks like there is a charge lot run by on top of this external base from Dark here, but now with the Zerglings, now the Mutas, they're fighting back. So this run by not going to get a whole lot done. Drones have been pulled. We should see 4 workers go down. Actually, looks like we're going to see more than that. It's not, the defense on this last Zealot is maybe not what it wants. So 5 workers will go down as another run by moving on into this 4th base of Dark that's really only mining gas. But now the Mutas, they're going to find one Void Ray, but now, oh, we're going to have Mutas. They're going to jump on top of the Archons. The Storms are going on top of everything. This is not the fight that Dark is looking. Well, actually, all the Mutas are going to go down, but so are all of the Void Rays. And all the Corruptors remain. So that fight's actually not as disastrous as I thought it was. As now the charge lot run by is going to go start targeting down this hatch, but the hatch will not go down. But 8 workers have died, so that is a rather substantial little bit of damage. There's an Archon run by, kitchen sink run by coming on top of this, call it a 1 o'clock base. And now these Mutas, they're going to get boxed in here. These Mutas are not long for this world. We should see, okay, actually no, well, it looks like Dark is going to let them out of the trap. And now the Mutas are going to, Phoenix going to fly in, looking for some lifts, and there is just not a whole lot here to be able to defend against the, not a whole lot here really to be able to defend against the Phoenix, and now they will be able to get a couple more workers as the 12 o'clock base, or I guess the 1 o'clock base does go down. But now the Mutas, the Phoenix, they're in a corner, and the Corruptor's there, so we're going to see a recall, and no Phoenix will go down. All right, so Trap, he is here stable on his 4 bases. He has more and more Void Rays on the way. Flex Veins, just about done. +1 armor, just about done. 3 Void Rays at a time coming on in here. But Dark, he owns the map. He has this rich Vespene. He will have the double rich Vespene base, so he's going to be able to build just so many Mutas, so many Corruptors in the coming moments. Really, so many Mutas, that's what you're looking for. And I was looking to get on the aggressive once again. I'm surprised we don't see +1 melee coming on in here with the reliance on Zerglings to be able to give you some action on the map where the Muta Corruptor flock is not, but hey, that's not exactly what we're seeing. And now the Phoenix will get on top of things. Trade a Phoenix for a Corruptor, it's fine. But the Storm, okay, Storm number 1 will whiff. And now the Phoenix Corruptor flock, they found an opening, and they will get this War Prism now too, so that's going to be a really nice trade. Zerglings are going to run on into this 4th base, but they're a decent amount of cannons. But maybe they can find their way to 3rd. They actually can. The wall is down. Phoenixes and Corruptors are going to dive on top of this as well, and this is going to force a fight. Dark, he's forcing a fight here, but well, there are a decent amount of Void Rays. Plus, they have 1/1. They have Flex Veins, and they're just shredding everything. But the Zerglings in the natural mineral line are shredding things as well. It looks like, oh, there is a run by here in the 3rd base in the natural as well. There's just action all across the map. Both players doing what they can to try to sock it to their opponent. And it looks like at the end of the day, it's just going to be about equal. Although, Actually, well, yeah, it's going to be just about equal. 23 workers going down to 24 drones to 23 probes. And the hatch will not go down, although a lot of it transfuses have been spent on that. And yeah, the game comes about to be equal. Okay, and now we're going to fight coming on in here, and some mutas will die immediately, but there are queens underneath this as well, so this is not really a fight that Chop wants to take for a moment. We're going to have to see how the storms are going on. Storm number 1's going to be good. Storm number 2 is going to be good. Storm's just on top of everything, and it's really getting hard to see what's happening here. Archon's fighting, and it looks like Trap just maybe has enough, but maybe not with the Archons coming on in here. Archon's cleaning up, and there are 5 Archons on the map, and Vorteries coming in. The last of the Vorteries does go down, but now there's a ground army that Dark just cannot fight as his army supply falls precipitously through the floor, and now there are just so many Archons. Muta's trying to do what they can to Magic Box, but these Archons, they are strong, they are powerful, and GG Trap, he's gonna take it.